Every animal on Earth eats its food raw. Every single one. A lion tears into a gazelle, no seasoning, no heat, no prep. A pelican swallows a fish whole and alive. A chimpanzee cracks open a nut with a rock and eats it exactly as nature made it. 8 million species on this planet, give or take, and not one of them has ever roasted, boiled, fried, or baked a single meal, except you. You probably don't think about that very often. You toast bread in the morning, you boil pasta at night. It feels mundane, boring even, but step back for a second and look at it from the outside. One species out of millions does something absolutely nobody else figured out. That's not normal. That's not a small thing. So here's the obvious question. Why us? Why only us? The lazy answer is fire. Humans discovered fire, so we cook. Done. Except that's barely an answer at all. Plenty of animals encounter fire. Savanna chimps at Fangoli in Senegal have been observed watching wildfires. They don't panic. They move calmly around the flames, predicting where the fire will go. Jill Prutz documented this in 2010. Chimps that understand fire well enough to not fear it, they never once tried to use it. Not to warm themselves, not to cook. So knowing about fire isn't enough, which means something else is going on. Let's go back about 1.5 million years. Homo erectus, your ancestor. Sort of. Erectus had a brain roughly 2/3 the size of yours. They walked upright, made stone tools, traveled across continents, and at some point they did something no creature had done before. They took fire and kept it, controlled it. In 2012, a team analyzing microstratigraphic layers in Wonderwork Cave in South Africa found ash deposits and burned bone fragments dating back 1 million years. Controlled, repeated burning. Not a wildfire that swept through. Someone kept that fire going on purpose. Here's what most people get wrong about cooking, though. They think fire came first, and cooking was just an obvious next step. Obvious. Look at it from Erectus's perspective. You have fire, it's warm, it keeps predators away at night, it provides light. Why would anyone think to put food in it? Food is food. You eat it. The idea that heat transforms the molecular structure of proteins and starches, making them easier to digest. Nobody knew that. Nobody could know that. The best guess, and this comes from Richard Wrangham at Harvard, whose 2009 book basically built the entire field, is that it was accidental, meat dropped into a fire, or tubers left near coals. Someone ate the result and noticed it tasted different. Easier to chew, didn't fight back on the way down, and then, maybe, they did it again and again. And eventually, probably over thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands, it became deliberate. Now here's the part nobody talks about enough. Consequences. Cooking didn't just make food taste better, it rewired our entire biology. Wrangham's argument, and the data backs it up pretty strongly, is that cooked food gave early humans access to way more calories per meal. Raw food takes enormous energy to digest. Your gut has to break everything down mechanically and chemically from scratch. Cooking is basically external digestion. It denatures proteins, it gelatinizes starches. By the time cooked food hits your stomach, half the work is already done. And that surplus of calories, it went somewhere specific. Your brain. In 2012, Susanna Herculano Housel at Vanderbilt published a paper showing that there's a metabolic tradeoff, a hard limit on how many neurons you can sustain based on how many hours a day you spend eating raw food. A gorilla, which eats raw plants all day, 8 to 10 hours of chewing, maxes out at about 33 billion neurons. Humans have 86 billion. On raw food alone, we'd need to eat for over 9 hours a day just to power a brain this size. We don't, because we cook. Cooking shrank our guts too. This is the expensive tissue hypothesis from Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler, 1995. Brains and intestines are both metabolically expensive. They burn a lot of energy. You can't have huge versions of both without eating nonstop. When cooking made digestion easier, our intestines got shorter. That freed up metabolic budget, and the brain took it. Our faces changed too. Jaws got smaller, teeth got smaller, because you don't need massive molars to grind raw tubers for hours when everything you eat has already been softened by heat. Catherine Zink and Daniel Lieberman showed in 2016 that cooking reduces the force needed to chew meat by about 41%. Our skulls literally reshaped around the fact that we cook. So cooking didn't just give us hot meals, it gave us the brain you're using right now to understand this sentence, which sounds insane, but the evidence lines up uncomfortably well. Here's another thing most people miss. Cooking requires a specific kind of thinking that almost no animal can do. In 2015, Felix Warneken and Alexandra Rosati ran experiments with chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, to see if they had the cognitive prerequisites for cooking. Could they wait? Could they understand transformation? They gave chimps raw sweet potato slices and a device that, when food was placed inside, returned cooked sweet potato after a short delay. The chimps figured it out. They preferred the cooked food. They'd even carry raw food across the room to put it in the device instead of eating it immediately. So chimps can understand that raw food goes in and better food comes out. They can delay gratification. They can transport food to a cooking location. They have, on paper, the cognitive toolkit. So why didn't they ever cook in the wild? Because cooking isn't just about understanding transformation. It's about controlling fire continuously, maintaining it, planning around it, trusting that the group won't steal your food while you wait for it to cook. That last part, the social trust problem, might be the real bottleneck. Wrangham himself argues that cooking required a level of cooperative social structure that chimps don't have. You need to be able to leave food near a fire and trust that it'll still be there in 20 minutes. Chimps can't do that. They steal from each other constantly. No trust, no cooking. Probably. We're not totally sure about that piece, by the way. The social trust angle is compelling but hard to test with fossils. The data is messy. What we do know is that the combination, fire control, delayed gratification, food transformation understanding, and social cooperation seems to be a package deal that only one lineage ever assembled. Miss one piece and the whole thing falls apart. Think about where that leaves us. Every meal you've ever eaten was prepared in a way that no other species on Earth has ever managed. The bread on your counter, the coffee in your mug, roasted beans, hot water extraction, that's cooking. Even a salad with dressing involves vinegar fermentation and oil processing. You are participating in a 1.5 million year old technology every single time you eat. Older than language, older than art, older than religion. Other animals are smart. Crows use tools. Octopuses solve puzzles. Dolphins have names for each other. None of them cook. Not because they're stupid, because cooking required a very specific, very unlikely stack of abilities to align in one species at one time. Fire mastery plus patience plus causal reasoning plus social contracts. We hit that combination, nobody else did. And maybe that's the strangest part of being human, not that we think or speak or build cities, but that we take raw matter from the earth, change its molecular structure with heat, and put it in our mouths. And we've been doing it so long that our bodies literally can't go back. We are the animal that cooks. That's not a hobby. That's not culture. That's anatomy. That's who we are now, down to the size of our teeth and the length of our gut and the wattage of our brain. A species rebuilt from the jaw up by fire. If you want more videos like this, subscribe now.